Welcome back to part 2 of the Complete Mexico Guide. If you haven't watched part 1 yet, go watch that first. It covers both visa pathways, taxes, the honest safety framework, and who Mexico is right for. This video is the practical guide. Let's get into it. Where should Americans actually live in Mexico? This is the most important decision you will make about a Mexico move. More important than the visa. More important than the cost of living numbers. Because in Mexico, where you live determines almost everything else. Your safety environment, your social scene, your healthcare access, your daily quality of life. Here are the cities Americans consistently choose, and what each one actually offers. Mérida, the safest choice. If safety is your primary concern, Mérida is where the research points you. Consistently ranked the safest large city in Mexico. Located in the Yucatan Peninsula in southeastern Mexico. The Yucatan state carries a Level 1 U.S. State Department advisory. Exercise normal precautions. That is the lowest risk rating available. Over 70% of Mérida residents report feeling safe walking alone in their neighborhoods. The city has a large and growing expat community, primarily American and Canadian retirees who have been arriving in significant numbers over the past decade. What Mérida offers: colonial architecture in a UNESCO-recognized historic center, strong Mayan cultural heritage, museums, markets, cuisine, a genuinely affordable cost of living even by Mexican standards, direct flights to Miami, Houston, Atlanta, Dallas, and other major US hubs, a growing number of English-speaking doctors, lawyers, and services. Cost of living in Mérida: a one-bedroom apartment in a safe neighborhood runs $600 to $900 a month. Gated communities with pools may exceed $1,100. All-in monthly budget for a single person, $1,200 to $1,500. A couple can live comfortably on $1,700 to $2,200 a month. The honest trade-off: Mérida is hot. Year-round tropical heat with high humidity, particularly from May through October. If extreme heat is a deal-breaker for you, factor that in. The expat community is growing but is not yet as large or established as in Puerto Vallarta or San Miguel de Allende. San Miguel de Allende, the expat capital. If you want the most established American expat community in Mexico, San Miguel de Allende is it. Over 8,000 American and Canadian expats live here full-time. A UNESCO World Heritage colonial city in the highlands of Guanajuato state, about 280 kilometers northwest of Mexico City. Altitude of approximately 1,900 meters, mild year-round climate. Temperatures rarely exceed 30 degrees Celsius, even in summer. No air conditioning required for most of the year. What San Miguel offers: one of the most beautiful colonial city centers in the Americas. World-class restaurants and an extraordinary arts scene. English language services, doctors, dentists, lawyers, financial advisors, developed over decades to serve the expat community. A cultural calendar that rivals much larger cities. Cost of living in San Miguel de Allende: a one-bedroom apartment in the Centro or expat-friendly neighborhoods runs $900 to $1,400 a month. Luxury rentals and colonial homes go significantly higher. All-in monthly budget for a single person, $1,500 to $2,200. A couple, $2,200 to $3,000. The honest trade-off: San Miguel is more expensive than most Mexican cities. The large expat community means prices have risen significantly over the past decade. The nearest international airport is in Querétaro, about an hour away. And Guanajuato State carries a Level 3 U.S. State Department advisory. Reconsider travel. Though the expat areas of San Miguel itself are consistently described as very safe by the people who live there. Verify current advisories before committing. Puerto Vallarta, beach life with infrastructure. For Americans who want the beach and want it with real infrastructure, Puerto Vallarta is the answer. Tens of thousands of Americans live here full-time. One of the most developed expat communities on Mexico's Pacific coast. The romantic zone, Marina Vallarta, and Centro are the established expat neighborhoods, packed with English-speaking businesses, co-working spaces, and a large and active social scene. What Puerto Vallarta offers: Pacific Ocean beaches within walking distance of most expat neighborhoods, international standard private hospitals and English-speaking doctors, direct flights to dozens of US and Canadian cities, a well-developed retirement and relocation services industry. Cost of living in Puerto Vallarta: a one-bedroom in expat-friendly neighborhoods runs $800 to $1,300 a month. Beachfront properties and luxury condos go considerably higher. All-in monthly budget for a single person: $1,500 to $2,500. A couple: $2,200 to $3,500. The honest trade-off: Puerto Vallarta is one of the more expensive cities on this list. The tourist premium is real. Prices in expat and tourist zones are meaningfully higher than in less international cities. Jalisco State carries a Level 3 US State Department advisory for certain regions. The city itself and the established expat neighborhoods have strong safety records, but do your neighborhood-level research before committing. Lake Chapala and Ajijic. The retirement community. 45 minutes south of Guadalajara, the Lake Chapala area is home to the largest concentration of American retirees in the world. Tens of thousands of Americans and Canadians have retired here over the past several decades. They can take advantage of the English language medical services, legal help, financial advisors, social clubs, churches, hobby groups, and community organizations developed over 50-plus years of expat presence. The town of Ajijic, pronounced Ajijic, is considered one of the safest communities in Jalisco. The climate is widely described as one of the best in the world: mild year-round temperatures, low humidity, abundant sunshine. Cost of living at Lake Chapala: a one-bedroom apartment runs $500 to $900 a month. Houses with gardens and views are available for considerably less than equivalent properties in most US retirement markets. All-in monthly budget for a single person: $1,000 to $1,600. A couple: $1,500 to $2,200. The honest trade-off: the Lake Chapala community skews older. If you are looking for a younger, more dynamic social scene, this may not be it. Getting around requires a car. Public transport is limited. And, as with all of Jalisco, check current State Department advisories for the region. Mexico City: maximum urban infrastructure. For Americans who want world-class urban life at a fraction of US prices, Mexico City is the answer. 14 million people in the metro area. An extraordinary cultural scene, world-class museums, restaurants, markets, and nightlife. A metro system that connects most of the city for the equivalent of a few cents per ride. International hospitals at a fraction of US prices. A massive and rapidly growing international expat and digital nomad community. The neighborhoods to know: Roma Norte and Roma Sur. Walkable, cafe-lined, safe, and popular with expats and creatives. La Condesa: beautiful tree-lined streets, excellent restaurants, very safe. Polanco: upscale, international, highest cost of living in the city. Coyoacan: historic, cultural, home of Frida Kahlo's Blue House, family-friendly. Cost of living in Mexico City: a one-bedroom in Roma, Condesa, or Polanco runs $900 to $1,400 a month. Outside these premium neighborhoods, $500 to $900. All-in monthly budget for a single person in expat neighborhoods: $1,600 to $2,200. A couple: $2,400 to $3,200. The honest trade-off: Mexico City is the most expensive city on this list. Air quality can be a concern. The city sits in a high-altitude basin and pollution levels vary significantly by season and location. Traffic is genuinely challenging. Plan your neighborhood selection around walkability and metro access rather than car use. Safety in CDMX is entirely a question of neighborhood selection. The areas where expats live are genuinely comparable to any major Western city, while certain other areas should be avoided entirely. Oaxaca: culture, food, and value. Oaxaca is the choice for Americans who want authentic Mexico, deep culture, extraordinary food, and a slower pace of life at some of the most compelling prices on this list. Located in southern Mexico at an altitude of about 1,500 meters. Mild year-round climate. Renowned cuisine, mole, tlayudas, mezcal. One of Mexico's great indigenous cultural centers. A growing community of artists, writers, and international residents. Cost of living in Oaxaca. A one-bedroom in the centro or residential neighborhoods runs $500 to $800 a month. All-in monthly budget for a single person, $800 to $1,200. A couple, $1,200 to $1,700. One of the most affordable high quality of life options in this entire series. The honest trade-off. Oaxaca is smaller and less internationally connected than other cities on this list. The nearest major airport has limited direct US routes. Healthcare infrastructure, while improving, is not at the level of Mexico City or Guadalajara. For serious medical care, you may need to travel. And a higher level of Spanish is genuinely needed here compared to more internationally developed expat cities. Healthcare for American expats in Mexico. Mexico's healthcare system is one of the most compelling reasons to consider it as a destination. Private healthcare costs 50 to 70% less than equivalent US treatment. And legal residents have access to the public US system at an annual cost that would make most Americans stop and reread the number. Let's go through all three options. Option 1. EMS Voluntary Enrollment. EMS is Mexico's Instituto Mexicano del Seguro Social, the government-run healthcare system. It covers more than 70 million Mexicans. Legal residents, both temporary and permanent, can enroll voluntarily. Here is what it costs as of 2026. For those aged 50 to 59, approximately $63 a month per person. For those aged 60 to 69, approximately $89 a month. For those aged 70 to 79, approximately $93 a month. Once enrolled, nearly all treatments including medications are provided free of charge. The honest trade-off on IAMS. Wait times can be long for non-urgent procedures. Facilities vary significantly by region. Excellent in major cities, more limited in rural areas. You do not choose your hospital, you are assigned one. English is rarely spoken in EMS facilities. Shared rooms are common. Some medications may be temporarily unavailable. Pre-existing conditions can complicate enrollment and may involve waiting periods. The recommended approach for most American expats: enroll in IAMS for catastrophic coverage, major hospitalization, surgery, serious illness. Use private care for routine needs where you want faster access and English-speaking doctors. Annual IAMS enrollment runs $500 to $700. That is your backstop if something serious happens. Option 2. IAMS Bienestar. IAMS Bienestar is Mexico's free public healthcare system, restructured from the former INSABI program. It is available to legal residents who are not enrolled in MSS. You do not need to sign up in advance. Present your residency card, your CARP number, Mexico's national ID number, and proof of your address at any MCS Bienestar hospital. In April 2026, President Claudia Sheinbaum launched the Servicio Universal de Salud, a new health credential system designed to provide portability across healthcare institutions. Registration began in April 2026, starting with older adults. This system is still rolling out. Verify current access with local expat communities. The honest trade-off on EMS Bienestar, quality and availability vary dramatically by region. In rural areas and smaller cities, access can be very limited. Most American expats use this as a last resort rather than a primary healthcare option. Option 3. Private health insurance. Private healthcare in Mexico is world-class in the major cities and dramatically more affordable than equivalent care in the US. A comprehensive private health insurance plan for a retiree aged 60 to 70 runs approximately $1,500 to $3,500 annually. That is $125 to $290 a month. Compare that to US private insurance premiums for the same age group, and the difference is significant. Private hospitals in Merida, Mexico City, Guadalajara, and Puerto Vallarta offer international standard care with English-speaking doctors, modern equipment, and a fraction of US wait times. The recommended setup for most Americans in Mexico: IMSS enrollment for catastrophic coverage under $1,000 a year. Private insurance or out-of-pocket for routine and specialist care. Mexico City and Guadalajara have the strongest private hospital networks. If your healthcare needs are significant, factor the city's private hospital infrastructure into your location decision. One important note: Medicare generally does not cover care outside the United States. Most American retirees in Mexico either accept this and pay locally, which is often financially viable given Mexican costs, fly back to the US for major procedures, or maintain a US address for Medicare purposes while living primarily in Mexico. Discuss your specific situation with a cross-border healthcare advisor before you move. Banking for Americans in Mexico. Banking in Mexico is generally more straightforward for Americans than in some European countries. FATCA compliance is required, but Mexico's major banks have established processes for it. Here are the banks most commonly used by American expats. BBVA Mexico, the largest bank in Mexico. FATCA compliant. Extensive ATM network. English language online banking available. Widely used by expats. Banamex, now rebranded as Citi Mexico in most contexts. Part of the Citigroup network, which can ease the American banking transition. Well-established processes for American clients. Santander Mexico, international bank with established expat processes. English language support available at major branches. What you need to open a Mexican bank account: your passport, your Mexican residency card, your RFC, your Mexican tax identification number, your key URP, your Mexican national ID number, proof of address in Mexico, a utility bill or rental contract. Get your RFC and CURP sorted before you try to open a bank account. Both are required and both take time to obtain after you arrive. Your CURP is automatically generated when your residency card is issued. Your RFC requires a SAT appointment. Book it early. Some digital options for the transition period. Use Wise, the most cost-effective way to transfer money from US accounts to Mexico. Significantly lower fees and better exchange rates than traditional bank transfers. You can also use Nu, Mexico's largest digital bank. Modern, app-based, easy to open. Increasingly popular with expats and digital nomads. The recommended setup for most Americans: use Wise immediately for transferring money from the US. Open BBVA or Citi Mexico as your primary Mexican bank once your RFC is established. Keep a US bank account active. You will need it for US transactions and tax filing. Cost of living summary by city. Here is the complete cost of living picture across the 6 cities we covered. All figures are for 2026 and represent realistic middle-of-the-road budgets. Not luxury living, not bare minimum. Merida. 1-bedroom rent, $600 to $900. Groceries, $200 to $250. Utilities, $60 to $90. Transport, $30 to $50. Car recommended, but not essential in Centro. All in, single person, $1,200 to $1,500 per month. All in couple, $1,700 to $2,200 per month. San Miguel de Allende. 1-bedroom rent, $900 to $1,400. Groceries, $250 to $350. Utilities, $70 to $100. Transport, $60 to $100. All in, single person, $1,500 to $2,200 per month. All in couple, $2,200 to $3,000 per month. Puerto Vallarta. 1-bedroom rent, $800 to $1,300. Groceries, $250 to $350. Utilities, $80 to $120. Transport, $50 to $100. All in single person, $1,500 to $2,500 per month. All in couple, $2,200 to $3,500 per month. Lake Chapala and Ajijic. 1-bedroom rent, $500 to $900. Groceries, $200 to $250. Utilities, $50 to $80. Transport, $80 to $150. Car essential. All-in single person, $1,000 to $1,600 per month. All-in couple, $1,500 to $2,200 per month. Mexico City, expat neighborhoods. 1-bedroom rent, $900 to $1,400. Groceries, $250 to $350. Utilities, $60 to $100. Transport, $30 to $60. Metro system is excellent. All-in single person, $1,600 to $2,200 per month. All-in couple, $2,400 to $3,200 per month. Oaxaca. 1-bedroom rent, $500 to $800. Groceries, $180 to $250. Utilities, $50 to $80. Transport, $40 to $70. All in, single person, $800 to $1,200 per month. All in couple, $1,200 to $1,700 per month. What does the actual move to Mexico cost? Here are the one-time costs of actually getting there. These are separate from your monthly cost of living. Visa and document costs. Mexican consulate visa application fee, approximately $56. INM resident card fee for first year, approximately $630. RFC registration, typically free but may require a lawyer or jester to navigate the SAT appointment process. Budget $100 to $300. Housing setup, short-term accommodation for first 2 to 4 weeks. $500 to $2,000 depending on city and accommodation type. Security deposit on long-term rental, typically 1 to 2 months rent. First month's rent up front. Utility connections and setup, $100 to $200. Shipping and flights. Most Americans moving to Mexico ship less than they think they need. Mexican furniture markets, particularly in Mexico City and Oaxaca, offer excellent quality at very reasonable prices. A partial shipping load from the US runs $1,500 to $3,000. One-way flights, $200 to $600 per person, depending on departure city and destination. Immigration lawyer, optional but recommended. An experienced Mexican immigration lawyer costs $500 to $1,500 and significantly reduces the friction of the consulate and INM process. Not required, but worth it for the peace of mind and time saved. Total realistic one-time move budget, minimal approach, $3,000 to $6,000 for a single person. Comfortable approach with professional support, $6,000 to $12,000 for a single person. Mexico is significantly cheaper to move to than Portugal. The visa fees are lower, the shipping distances shorter, and the cost of setting up a household considerably less. That proximity advantage is real, and it shows up in the move cost too. Finding your community in Mexico. With 1.6 million Americans already in Mexico, finding community is genuinely easier here than anywhere else in this series. Here is where to start. Online, before you arrive. Facebook groups. Start here. Expats in Mexico, one of the largest general expat groups. Americans in Merida, highly active, extremely practical. San Miguel de Allende Expats, decades of accumulated local knowledge. Lake Chapala Ajijic Expats, very active retirement community group. Mexico City Expats and digital nomads, growing rapidly. Puerto Vallarta Expats, large and well organized. Internations.org has active chapters in Mexico City, Guadalajara, and Monterrey. Reddit r/Mexico and city-specific subreddits like r/Mexico City are useful for honest, unfiltered information. On the ground, after you arrive. Every city on this list has a well-established expat social infrastructure. In San Miguel de Allende and Lake Chapala, social clubs, volunteer organizations, and community groups have been running for decades. In Mexico City and Puerto Vallarta, co-working spaces are the fastest way to meet other remote workers and international residents. Language exchange events are particularly valuable in Mexico because the local Mexican community is generally very warm toward Americans who make genuine effort to learn Spanish. These events happen weekly in every city on this list and are consistently described by expats as where they made their best friends. The American Society of Mexico operates in Mexico City and hosts regular events for the American community there. One honest note, the expat communities in some Mexican cities, Lake Chapala especially, can feel like transplanted American suburbs. If you want deep Mexican cultural immersion, that may not serve you. If you want the comfort of a familiar social structure in a beautiful, affordable setting, it is exactly what it promises to be. Know which one you are looking for before you choose your city. Practical details. Most videos miss. Driving in Mexico. Americans can drive in Mexico on their US driver's license. There is no exchange requirement. Your US license is valid for driving in Mexico as a legal resident. Many expats simply keep their US license and never obtain a Mexican one. If you bring a US-plated car into Mexico, you need a temporary vehicle import permit, called a TIP, from Banjatito. This is obtained at the border or online before you cross. The TIP is tied to your tourist or residency status and must be cancelled when you permanently import the vehicle or take it back to the US. You also need Mexican auto insurance. US auto insurance does not cover you in Mexico. Mexican auto insurance is inexpensive, budget $100 to $200 a month. Internet and remote work infrastructure. Internet quality in Mexico varies significantly by city and neighborhood. Mexico City, Guadalajara, and Monterrey have excellent fiber infrastructure. Mérida, Puerto Vallarta, and San Miguel de Allende are well served in expat areas. Rural areas and smaller towns can be significantly more limited. The main providers, Telmex, the national incumbent. Widest coverage but variable quality. Megacable, strong alternative in many cities. Often faster than Telmex. Total Play, growing fiber network. Good reviews in major cities. Co-working spaces are well developed in Mexico City, Guadalajara, Puerto Vallarta, San Miguel de Allende, and Oaxaca. Day passes typically run $10 to $20. Monthly memberships run $100 to $200. Bringing your pets. Mexico is significantly more straightforward for pet travel than the EU. No rabies titer test required. No mandatory waiting periods. Here is what you need to bring a dog or cat from the US to Mexico. A health certificate from a licensed veterinarian, completed within 10 days of travel. Proof of current rabies vaccination. Proof of current distemper vaccination. That is essentially it. On arrival, your pet goes through a brief inspection by Mexican agricultural authorities, SENASICA. The process is usually quick and straightforward. Keep all documentation printed and organized. Mexico is generally very pet-friendly. Veterinary care is excellent in major cities at a fraction of US costs. A standard vet consultation typically runs $20 to $40. That is the complete practical guide to moving to Mexico as an American. If you missed Part 1, visas, taxes, the safety framework, and who Mexico is right for, go check it out. The free reference sheet covering everything in both videos is in the description. Where are you in the process? Which city spoke to you? Drop it in the comments. If this video was helpful, please like and subscribe. Until next time, safe travels.